And welcome back to Never Done Ask with me, John Martin, and we have another station review. I need to apologise for the lack of a video last week. I was on a train back from Yorkshire at the weekend, and two drunk Yorkshire people subjected a man to racist and homophobic assault before being hauled off at Halifax. So I wasn't really in the right headspace after seeing that to finish my review. But today we are back. We've gone north of the border to Falkirk and the town's other main station, the ScotRail run Falkirk High. I visited here in summer 2025, and it's the first time we've been able to look at all the footage and didn't have quite as much usable as I hoped. The station sits on the south side of the town centre. It is reached by High Station Road. As the name suggests, it's a pretty steep climb to reach the station. Footpaths from the station also lead to Drossy Road and Slamanham Road via the Union Canal. Falkirk High is on one of the lines between Edinburgh and Glasgow Queen Street. Polmont is just over 3 miles to the east, and Croy is 10 1/3 to the west. Falkirk High railway station has its origins in the great railway boom of the earlier Victorian era, when Scotland's industrial towns were being linked together by fast new transport routes. The station opened on the 21st of February in 1842, simply as Falkirk, built by the Edinburgh and Glasgow Railway as part of the company's ambitious line connecting Scotland's two largest cities. If they weren't, it would be a silly name for the railway. At the time, this was one of the most important railway projects in the country, creating Scotland's first major intercity railway. When the line first opened, trains from Falkirk heading east terminated at Haymarket in Edinburgh because the route into the city centre had not yet been completed. That changed in 1846 when the railway was extended through the tunnels into what would later become Edinburgh Waverley. The extension linked the Edinburgh and Glasgow Railway with the North British Railway network, establishing Falkirk as an important stop on the main route between Glasgow and Edinburgh. The original stations had high above the centre of Falkirk near the Union Canal, giving passengers impressive views over the town. During the mid-19th century, the railway transformed Falkirk's economy, making it easier to move iron goods, coal and manufactured products from the area's heavy industries. Passenger traffic also grew rapidly as rail travel became the fastest and most comfortable way to move between Scotland's industrial centres. In 1865, the Edinburgh and Glasgow Railway was absorbed by the North British Railway, one of the dominant railway companies in Scotland. Under North British ownership, the route through Falkirk became part of a much larger railway network, stretching across eastern Scotland and into England. The station itself remained relatively modest, but the line passing through it was strategically vital because it carried express passenger trains as well as freight traffic. By the turn of the 20th century, Falkirk had several other railway stations operated by different companies on different routes. To avoid confusion, the station was officially renamed Falkirk High on 1st of February 1903. The new name reflected its elevated position above the town. In 1923, the grouping of Britain's railways saw the station pass into LNER ownership and continued to serve the busy London to Edinburgh main line. Although many branch lines and smaller stations closed during the Beeching era, Falkirk High survived because it was on the principal route between Edinburgh and Glasgow. The late 20th century saw further modernisations, services became faster and more frequent, and the route developed into one of Scotland's busiest commuter corridors. Responsibility for train operations eventually passed to ScotRail, while infrastructure became under the control of Network Rail. One of the biggest upgrades in the station's modern history came with the Edinburgh to Glasgow Improvement Programme. During the 2010s, the line through Falkirk High was electrified to introduce the new Class 385 electrics, which gave a faster journey time and also a much cleaner, pleasanter feel. They started operating in July 2019, marking a new era for the historic route. There are two side platforms here, both 195 metres long, and they are linked by an overbridge. There's an underpass from the Glasgow bound platform which eventually links you to the main bit of the station. Scottish stations don't have the joy of getting a department for transport categorisation. Marked for services, 5 out of 10. Off peak, there are 4 trains an hour at peak times. Services more than double. Trains through here run between Glasgow Queen Street and Edinburgh Waverley. Glasgow is 20 minutes away, Edinburgh is half an hour. For comparison, from the other Falkirk station, trains take a minute longer to get to Edinburgh, as they have a couple of stops. Towards Glasgow, they take over twice as long as they are stopping services on a longer route. From 24-25 figures, the most popular destination is Edinburgh Waverley with 131,129 journeys, followed by Glasgow Queen Street, Glasgow Central, Stirling and Edinburgh Haymarket. And now for the figures. We had 773,200 entries and exits, which works out at 2,118 per day. With 632 scheduled services a week, this comes out at 23.5 per service. However, some people do use this station to change trains. So adding them in, we have 2,127 passengers per day, which means 23.75 passengers per service. Passenger numbers are increasing, but they haven't reached the pre-COVID levels. For comparison, Falkirk Grammonston has more services but less entries and exits. However, it is much more used as an interchange. Marks for onward travel, 2 out of 5. The F14 bus runs every 2 hours from the turning circle nearby to Middlefield near the Kelpies at the far east of Falkirk. On Slammon Road, the F2 runs hourly between Limerick and Falkirk. We also have a canal nearby, and I've given marks for that before, so go on, have an extra point. Marks for accessibility, 6 out of 10. Both platforms are level access. However, while the Edinburgh bound platform is directly step free from the main entrance and car park, the Glasgow bound platform has a footbridge under the station onto Drossy Road, and then you need to take the ramp up to the car park and walk through the car park again. The station is staffed, it has indicators and announcements. Pedestrian accessibility is limited to those who enjoy a climb or live nearby. Marks for station facilities, 4 out of 10. This is a modern style station building on the Edinburgh bound platform. Additionally, there are ticket machines outside for when the ticket office is closed. The station building also houses a waiting room. There are seats on the platform, some under the canopy, some in shelters, others in the open. The Glasgow bound platform has covered seating area and also open seatings. We have space for 20 bikes, and from that font of fiction that is the National Rail website, it claims the car park has 203 spaces. Marks for care and character, 11 out of 20. This isn't a pretty station. Functional possibly would be the best descriptor. Glasgow bound platform is dominated by the houses on the hill behind it, and there are some trees along the edge of the platform. Edinburgh bound side, it's all grey wooden fences to give an austere feel. We have planters on the platform and some of the very cute steam train planters that nestle around Falkirk. It's worth noting that some of the metalwork, such as on the bins, is showing a lot of rust. Being high on the hill, you get a good view of the town and beyond from outside the station. Marked for nearby things, 3 out of 10. We're quite away from the town centre here, and as I keep stating, it's a heck of a walk up the hill. Around here, it's mainly a residential district. However, now we're up here, we are right next to the Union Canal, and from there it's a walk along the canal till you get to Falkirk Wheel, but it's still nearly an hour. Falkirk Tunnel on the canal is much closer. Apparently that's also a tourist site. The tunnel was built because of the owner of the Calendar House didn't want a canal to go through his grounds. The house and the park are also a tourist attraction quite close by. Overall, we get 31 out of 65, which is 48%. It is a typical commuter town with good service to the 2 largest cities in Scotland. However, it seems to be a station built to just about perform a task, and splattering of planters around won't improve that. It's a station